You're listening to KFWB News Talk 980. My name is Les Brown, and today we're talking about tough decisions. The number to call is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. If you were listening, we're talking to Michelle, who's been married for 15 years, and she had to make a tough decision. She's been married and happily married for the most part, 2 kids, and husband very much involved with the children, very good husband, but he has an addiction. He smokes marijuana, but he says it's no big deal. He can stop anytime he wants to, that she just needs to just get over it. It's not all that bad. And even though he's on the verge of losing his family, he's made a choice for marijuana over his family. And fortunately for her, she said, I'm making a decision for my kids and for myself. She's doing it on principle. And that's tough. This is a relationship that's not physically abusive. It's a person that's very responsible, a functional addict, and she's made a decision, not an easy decision, but a decision to move on with her life. And now we want to talk to Edward. Edward in Los Angeles, 19-year-old son, he smokes marijuana, and you decided to give him an ultimatum. Tell us about that. I know that's tough.
Hi, yes. Thank you for the line. Well, I am faced with a decision here. I've got a 19-year-old son. He approached me about a year back that he smokes marijuana and he liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I decided at the time to let it go. Bad decision, of course. The thing is that I also have a 12-year-old son in the house, and he does not use this in the house. I found paraphernalia in the house and such, and because of that, also his using. You know, he's not motivated. He's not going to school. He's not working. I already actually told him to leave twice, and he did leave twice, and I let him back in twice. I told him the last time it would be the last time I let him back in the home. But at this point, I'm gonna give him an ultimatum, which is either leave that, you know, get either a job or enroll into school, or leave the house for finally.
Let me ask you this: when you allowed him to come back, why did you decide to allow him to come back?
Because he had nowhere to go. He came practically in underwear, basically, and had nowhere to go. And at that point, well, my, I guess parenthood instinct took over and said, "Okay, you can come back in."
You know, it's amazing. And first of all, I've dealt with this personally, and I appreciate your calling in. And it's a heavy thing when your own flesh and blood. And when I was dealing with this, I said, look, you don't work. How do you get money? How could you afford to buy marijuana? And I never forget what my son said to me. He said, Dad, it's amazing. Now, he should not have said this to me. He said, it's amazing what you can do when you make up your mind you want to do something. Okay, I said, wait a minute. I'm sitting there thinking, saying to myself, Cadumbo. Okay, so if you can make up your mind that you can get your marijuana and don't pay for it, then you need to make up your mind that you're going to get a job, that you're going to get a place to stay, that you're going to get your own car, your own transportation, your own furniture, your own phone, that you're going to be independent. See, you can't be independent and dependent too. And it was a tough thing in our relationship. In fact, for a period of time, we didn't speak. And I mean to tell you, that was like ripping my heart out. You hear me? It's the toughest thing that I have ever done. And I said to him, I said, let me tell you something. People who do drugs are stupid. When you it's tough enough to make it in life. Trust me, young man, it's tough enough to make it in life if you are sober. But if you do drugs, if you're surrendering yourself to a drug and you're allowing that to control your life, you are compromising the possibilities for your talents, for your abilities, and your skills. A friend of mine named Dwight wrote a book called The Big Lie, and I gave him this book. And Dwight said that when he took his first hit of crack, he told himself, I can handle this. And he said, that was the big lie. And that's the big lie that these young people and adults, there are many adults. I have a friend who worked with recovering addicts who are deciding to become addicts at 30 and 40 and 50 years of age. I mean, just straight up crazy. It takes courage, Dominique, to hold your ground. It takes courage. It is very important that you let go or be dragged. If you don't let it go, it will drag you down. It will age you. And he, through the inspiration of desperation, even if he shows up in his Fruit of the Loom underwear, he will find some place to go. Sometimes life will have to teach our children some things that we can never teach them. There's another voice that might have to speak to him, and those seeds that you have sown in him, those seeds will begin to sprout and begin to blossom. He's not lost. It's just you can't reach him right now. I wish I could meet him. I could go up in his stuff. I could reach him because he comes from good stock, and you cannot allow him to begin to misdirect the mind of your 12-year-old that's watching his older brother, who is not a good example for him.
Well, and along with all that, he has this girlfriend that gives him money.
Yeah.
And he comes and goes. And I told him already, you need to respect this house. You need to respect your little brother, because you are an influence on your little brother, as well as I am. And so he comes and goes, and he sometimes spends the night over there. Sometimes spends the night, with us. So, at this point, I used to blame myself because I had him at a young age. I didn't pay much attention to him. I didn't guide him as I should have.
Yes.
As I do with the younger one.
I share that guilt too. I've went through the same thing. I was a young father. I did not have the wisdom and the level of maturity then that I have now. Yes, and we can only beat yourself up for so long. At some point in time, you've got to draw the line.
And the good thing is that my wife is behind me. She does support me. She's
good.
not, one of those mothers that says, "Oh no, my son, no. How can I leave my son out there in the cold?" No, she's like, you know what? We need to stand our ground. I don't care if he comes naked, that he has nowhere to go. We need to lock those doors and not let him in until he understands.
Absolutely. Well, listen, first of all, that is a blessing that she understands the difference between mother love and smother love. There are a lot of mothers who will buckle under, who will weaken and say, "That's my child. I carried him for 9 months. You just don't understand. I just can't let him be out there in the streets." It takes courage to do that. And so you're very fortunate that you have an understanding wife and mother who knows that you've got to take a stand now. Absolutely. Well, it takes courage on your part. Thank you for calling in. I can feel your pain as a father. I've gone through that. I know about that up close and personal, and know that he's going to be all right. Let go or be dragged. Let go or be dragged emotionally and financially into a hole of misery that will take you a long time to crawl out of. He is going to be all right. The mark of greatness is upon you. Release the past. You have all the future before you to build a great life for yourself, for your wife, and for your 12-year-old that's watching you very closely. It takes courage, and you're demonstrating that. Thank you so much for calling in, Dominique, and thank you so much, Edward. I appreciate you. Thank you, Edward. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Can I ask you one more question?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that by giving him an ultimatum, and if he chooses to leave, you think I'm releasing him, so to speak, to the wolves?
No. He'll make the decision that's in his best interest. He'll come back. He might do it. He's going to test you to see how strong you are. He'll come back through the inspiration of desperation. He'll come back because the streets is no place to be right now.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you. The number to call is 888-539-2980. 888-539-2980. I did that, Edward. He left. He had a girl to bring him in, and that got tired, and she put him out. And he got straight. He's doing the right thing now. 888-539-2980. You're listening to Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's Baby Boy. We're talking about tough decisions. KFWB News Talk 980.